my wife's a garage sale collector. She's at every rummage sale you'll ever see. She buys the clothes and never stops to check them. She just bags them up and brings them home to me.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Clay from Clay's Collections, and we're back again with another Goodwill bins haul, although this time it's books. That's right, I found a lot of great books at the bins. I shouldn't say a lot of great books. I found one awesome book, and a lot of good inventory for resale. And so I paid a total of like $7.50 for this lot. One book is worth over 10 times that amount in as-is condition, I believe, and then considerably more than that if it was restored and stabilized. So we'll show that one at the end. And it's a big, heavy one. But anyway, if you're new to our channel, welcome, and glad you could join us. I do part-time reselling, mostly at an antique store now. I did have quite a bit on eBay, but I'm scaling back because I've gone back to work full-time, so I've scaled back my eBay store so that I can just focus on limited amounts of stuff, which is mostly books and kitchen items, glassware, that type of thing. So, and my primary is books because that's what I'm selling the majority of. So, come along for the journey. We'll show you what we found. So one of my principles in selling books, if you want to sell books, is to find well-known titles by well-known authors, regardless of the edition. And like for me, when I buy books at the Goodwill outlet bins, we pay by the inch at ours. Some pay by the book, some pay by the pound. Every one is, a location is a little different. But for ours, it's by the inch. So a book like this, 1 inch, I'm paying 60 cents for. They raised the price to 59 cents an inch now. But buying them at that rate, I can easily sell them for $4 to $5 each. If it's not a high dollar edition, I can still sell them, and I still do sell them quite frequently because they're well-known titles. It's got a great looking spine. It's something people buy even just for decoration because they look great in a decor setting. So don't be afraid to buy ones that might not be worth, reselling on eBay, but could resell as a decorative item in a local context. When they sell on Facebook Marketplace, you can lot 3 similar books that have similar coloring and make a set, sell the set for $10 if you picked them up for like 2 or something. So you can still make good money doing it that way. But, so anyway, the first one I bought, The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Now this is not an expensive version. It's a nice edition of this particular book. It's published in, this one was published in 1967. So it's a good decorative edition. It does have wear on this bottom of the spine and on the top. It does have the red bookmarker. So this one I will put down at the pink elephant for like $10 because it's a nice edition. And again, in that case, I'm paying 60 cents. The other great thing about paying by the inch is you can buy a ton of children's books, very inexpensive, like this one, The Fire Cat. And this particular one is a first edition from 1960. Now, some of these, that doesn't add a lot to the value because there's so many of them published and so many people have them. But this particular one is in excellent condition. There's no writing, no torn pages, or creased pages. And the spine is good and tight. There's a little bit of wear, shelf wear on the top and the bottom. But otherwise, it's just a great book. So many of these I do children's books anywhere from $2 to $5. So this one would be, I'll probably put $4 on it because it's such a nice copy. And these are kind of books I would typically not buy. One of the categories that does not typically do well are novels, mid-century novels, unless, of course, they're major titles. But something like this, Beautiful Joe, which actually is a book that dates to the early 1900s. The first publication was 1902. So it's a well-known, established dog book. Story about a dog before Lassie. And this particular one I picked up, number one, because the dust jacket is beautiful, but also the subject matter. Dogs, people love their dogs. And, again, this could make a great decor item sitting on your shelf. It's got a nice dust jacket still on it. You know, and even if you want to take the dust jacket off of it because it does have a tear. Anyway, so again, this is a 1950s version of this particular book. So it's not a first edition. This is a $5 book. But I bought it because the subject matter works well. This is another category of children's books that does well. That's the American Girl series of books. They're designed to go along with the American Girl dolls, the different names. This one happens to be Kirsten, and their stories that go along with the doll series. And these sell, if you put them in sets, they can sell, you know, $5 to $10 individually, and you can lot them up and sell them, you know, for $3, $4, $5 in a lot as well if you want to. But these are a good item. And again, they're super thin, so I'm paying less than a quarter for this. It's just a great idea. And that one's in perfect condition. Doesn't look like it was ever read or written in. The other series that does well are these little golden books. I don't sell them on eBay. I sell them at the antique store, and we sell quite a few of them. These I typically do $2 to $3 each. The ones I picked up today are in great condition. Almost no signs of wear, no writing inside. Many times this name is filled in. There's coloring. There's all sorts of things. These books see a lot of kids' activities. But there's Snow White, Lady and the Tramp, and Pinocchio. So all of these I'll put in just because I have a whole section of the golden books. I'll put those in there for $2 just to let them go. The Ghost's Grave. Here's my thought on these. I sold actually more books at Halloween than I did Halloween decorations. So with that in mind, going into Halloween this year, 2023, which is my first video of 2023. Welcome. It's been almost 3 years since I started this channel. Now that I think about it, that's amazing. Thank you guys so much for your support. But it's to actually have come Halloween time, have a large enough collection that I can do an entire shelf of Halloween books. So that means Halloween related, I'll say that. So they're spooky, they're ghosts, they're witches, and a lot of these are children's or young adults books that tend to be this way. I also do Edgar Allan Poe is another one that you can sell during the Halloween season because of the spookiness. All right, this one could be controversial. This is the Illustrated Firearms Assembly Handbook. This one is from 1960. It does talk about assembling rifles and pistols, stuff like that. This is a safety-related book. It's to show you how different guns work, the different parts, how they go together. So to me, if you're going to own guns, which many, many millions of people own guns in the United States, as you guys know, my family included, which is awesome, it's best to be aware of the ways of handling, maintaining, and making sure they work properly. So that's why I got that one. The other children's books, Old Paul the Mighty Logger. I'd never heard of this, but apparently it's been out there quite a bit. Again, this book is in excellent condition with the exception of one little signature at the very top. So somebody wrote their name in the book, but otherwise it's perfect condition. This is second to the oldest book I got. It's Agnes and the Cat. And this is the 1931 publication, paperback, which is in great condition with the except, you know, a little bit of wear on top. But the inside, again, is beautiful colors, no writing, no torn pages. So, great little find. That one's probably a $5 to $10 book. That's one of the more valuable children's books, because again, it's older. And yes, A Giraffe and a Half by Silverstein. This one's a $5 book. Again, great condition. It was a library book, so it's got the library covering. It does have the library stamp inside, and the library checkout thing in the back, which there are ways you can try to remove that. And I'll get into that in just a minute. The other category of books that can be highly beneficial is local interest. So if you have an antique booth and you want to even start, this can be a great place, is books related to your area. So like I live in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, so I pick up Minnesota related books. I pick up books on different towns around the Twin Cities or even Minnesota. The history books, that type of stuff. So I picked up this one, which is North Dakota, entire town, or every town on the map and more. So this book is about North Dakota, which borders Minnesota. And it talks about every single town in North Dakota with pictures and a brief description of the town. So there you go. And a picture highlighting some building or something from the town. Most of them are grain elevators, which is even funnier. But people like these. They buy them either for people they know from that state. You know, sometimes you don't know what to buy people for a gift. Local interest things can be of great value. Okay, this is the book I found that's worth the most money. And I'll show you the front first. History of the Minnesota Valley. This particular book was written by Edward O'Neill. Now, that name sounded familiar because I recently, in another video of mine, showed the History of Minneapolis book that was written in 1880 or 1884 or somewhere in there, that he wrote that book as well. In this case, this book is from 1882, first edition of the History of the Minnesota Valley, which talks about the events going on here in the Iowa, Minnesota area. And this particular book, it's including the explorers, pioneers of Minnesota. And it also talks about the 1862 uprising of the Native Americans, which was transformational in historical terms with regard to Indian relations and the government treatment of them, which I'm not getting into. But this particular book is not in very good shape. Somebody used some nice brown duct tape to hold the spine and the front and back covers. You can see the edge. Edge banding is gone on the top. It is still attached on the bottom. But when they put the book together, you can see they didn't do a good job because the top, there's much bigger space on top than there is at the bottom. At the bottom, it's almost flush. And then inside, look at this beautiful marble paper inside. They use black duct tape to hold the cover on. So and it also has what's called red rot, which is when the leather gets dried and brittle and comes off on your fingers and leaves residue all over. And I do have stuff to treat that. So I am going to do a video on some basic repairs to a book like this. I also loved it. It's got the marbled edges to the pages, which is great. So if this book was in good condition, it's going to be a $200 book because there's very few of these first editions out there. It is reprinted. You can buy a reprinted version of this today for even, those are pretty expensive. I believe it was like $75. But these first editions are pretty rare. So that's a great find at the Goodwill bins, and because of the size, I probably paid $2. Great score. That's what we get at the Goodwill bins around here. It's awesome. And that's why I love going for items like this. Number one, to rescue it, because otherwise these end up in the dump, I'm sure. And not many people at our Goodwill outlet buy the antique books. I do. I just don't get there very often anymore. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. We'll get to you next time.